Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to the Supply Chain Dialogues podcast, where we will be diving into the procurement, supply chain, and operations management world. We got insights for you into new, old, and even outdated truths, and hopefully that will make you more successful in your job by expanding your knowledge of solutions which are out there. My name is Daniel Helmig, your host for the show. I ran supply chains, procurements, and operations globally in 5 industries for more years than I care to remember.
And I'm Amy, the AI-generated co-host voice of the show. I will ask the questions and provide from time to time facts and figures provided from my other AI siblings.
Thank you, Amy, and let's dive into the show. This episode is called Implementing 21st-Century Supply Chain Now. This podcast is linked to blog posts, which are divided into 2 parts. The podcast, we take the whole topic in one go. We will argue that it's time to redesign our supply chains drastically if we want to continue competing and living nicely for the rest of this century. The topic will become sexier and sexier the more the planet is heating up, and disasters and inconveniences will knock at our front doors or our global neighbors. In 2023 at the WEF in Davos, this was probably, beside the current wars, the most significant topic that was talked about. Please consider the past year. How many products did your family order that took longer than expected to arrive or experience delays? How often did your company mitigate value chain disruptions due to missing or delayed goods? Did your company see a dip in revenues or margins based on this? Where's the time when price increases typically could be compensated by productivity improvement by the supplier? Lastly, how do you feel that due to one war waged by a country with 1.8% of the global population versus a country that represents 0.55% of the population leads to real and present inflation by up to 12% of 100% of the global population, causing more and more people to slide into low end of the income spectrum, starting to weigh food against warmth? In my view, these disruptions are no longer rare issues caused by the aftermath of the pandemic, but the symptoms of a systemic phenomenon. The Black Swan thesis of Nassim Taleb in his 2007 bestseller posits that rare and unpredictable events, which have a significant impact, are more common than we think, and we should be prepared for them. The black swan has become a common animal, flaunting its black feathers in abundance. One could even argue that today we applaud when we have a white swan month, quarter, or even year, meaning everything functions as we think it should. Though these events may still be irregular from a local perspective, the global connectivity of people, goods, and information has made them a constant presence. Even my last statement, I have to question, since people in Africa, the Indian subcontinent, Australia, and the USA might find the cadence of natural disasters no longer irregular. Just let's think about the droughts, floodings, forest fires, hurricanes, polar vortexes over the last 2 or 3 years. So, what is the impact on the businesses? In response, companies have had to adapt by advising customers of longer lead times, increasing inventory, and seeking alternative, often higher cost supplies. The consequences of not changing supply chain design go beyond impacting customers and profits. Greenhouse gas emissions since 1990 have made up 50% of all emissions since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution in the 1750s. This trend is only set to grow with the continued economic growth in China, India, and Africa, which comprises 52% of the global population, versus the mere 14% that Europe and the US represents today. Now, we should factor in as well that we humans have done quite well over the last 100 years. While in 1921, the world population was estimated at 1.9 billion, in 2021, we're at 7.9 billion people due to advances in medicine, living conditions, technology, urbanization, and social and cultural changes. And while this is very positive, it poses the question, now what? While many supply chain leaders have successfully designed and led global supply chains in the past 30 years, and me included, the changing conditions now require a shift in approach. The phrase, think global, act local, no longer applies to glocalization, by the way, a meaningless word anyway from the beginning, but should today be seen as a recipe for the more actionable concept of reshoring. Reshoring, or designing shorter and tighter supply chains that source and produce locally for local customers, can address the demands of all sorts of governments, improve working capital and cash flow, reduce lead times and transport costs, and increase flexibility and resilience. Reshoring can also help to reduce greenhouse gas emissions quickly.
Global transport accounts for 15% of total greenhouse gas emissions. Importing goods and services from different regions also imports their primary energy use. Here are the percentages of heating and electricity and as well manufacturing using fossil fuel: China 73%, India 90%, USA 64%, and EU 45%.
It even addresses the need for a renewed sense of self-sufficiency in strategic categories. I'm thinking military, computer, aircraft, and even PPE, as we had to learn during the pandemic. It is not a new concept. And the first automotive OEMs are starting reshoring and tightening their supply chains around a more continental or regional focus, and so are some of the clothing OEMs. However, reshoring via a simple lift and shift will lead to increased cost of sales and capital expenditure requirements, for example, due to multiple tooling. This raises the question, are we stuck between two undesirable options? There is, in my opinion, a way out of this dilemma. It is time to design actual 21st century supply chains based on principles we know well from our production and development areas, and they are called agility and digitalization. You will now probably lean back and think, just another buzzword puzzle, or our supply chain is already agile and digital. But let's be honest with ourselves. Is it really though? So let's start by defining what digital and agile supply chains have to look like, and what is the common baseline.
A digital supply chain relies heavily on digital technologies and data analytics to optimize performance and efficiency. It involves using digital tools and platforms to manage and coordinate the various elements of the supply chain, such as demand planning and forecasting, sourcing, production, warehousing, transportation, and customer service.
Digital technologies can automate and streamline most processes, improve communication and collaboration among supply chain partners, and enhance decision-making and problem-solving capabilities. A digital supply chain aims to increase agility, responsiveness, and competitiveness by leveraging the power of digital technologies and data analytics to optimize performance and efficiency.
An agile supply chain linked to our production systems is designed to be responsive and adaptable to changes in demand, market conditions, and other variables. It allows for quick and efficient adjustments to keep the supply chain operating at optimal performance. This can involve various strategies, such as maintaining a diverse network of suppliers, using advanced technologies to monitor and forecast demand, and implementing just-in-time production and delivery methods.
An agile supply chain aims to increase competitiveness and customer satisfaction by responding quickly and effectively to changing market conditions and customer needs. Most supply chains are not there yet. Many companies have not even started, besides some intellectual musings. The good news is that digital and agile pockets of excellence exist in most companies, either in production, development, IT, and sometimes even in sales. It is about tapping into the knowledge under a clear project focus and investing in areas where a gap in technology or process competence is known. For all other companies that do not see the need, I recall the saying of Edward Deming, one of the gurus of Western quality management philosophy: survival is optional. Now, to design a 21st century digital and agile, competitive and resilient supply chain, we must understand the starting point in our firms and identify the gaps that need addressing. As always, I have a simple set of questions for you to diagnose in your head the current state of your firm. Feel free to answer the questions and the assessment available on the website of helmigadvisory.com in the advisory section. Due to the fact that we have consolidated 2 blog posts into one, in the interest of time, we outsource this onto the webpage. Please read through that, get a feel for where you are, and then hopefully we can address the size of the prize. Any change in a Western market environment must make financial sense to the stakeholders. We can assume that similar to when we moved into global supply chains, the next step of regional, agile, and digital supply chains will have to yield double-digit % improvements. Consider the following list and extrapolate it to your company's bottom line. So what are the opportunities? Let's start with lead times. Reduce lead times by 50% or more. Reshoring agile production to a regionally based facility can help a firm reduce lead times significantly by eliminating the need for long-distance transportation of goods. You respond more quickly to market changes and customer demands. Second, improved product quality. By producing goods closer to the point of consumption, you can improve quality control by having better oversight of the production process and responding more quickly to any issues. Next, excellent sales and operation planning. Reshoring production to a regionally based facility helps you to increase agility by allowing faster and digital communication and collaboration between different departments, functions, and clearly suppliers. Next is enhanced supply chain resilience. Reshoring production closer to home reduces dependencies on long-distance suppliers and logistics. This can help a firm mitigate risk associated with supply chain disruptions and increase resilience. Another opportunity is the improved cost of sales. Reshoring production to a regional-based facility saves transportation, logistics, tariffs, and other import-export-related costs. It can also help to reduce labor costs through digitalization and automation rather than continuing error-prone low-cost labor. A further advantage is the improved impact on the local economy. Reshoring production to a regionally based facility can positively impact the local economy by creating jobs, increasing tax revenue, and promoting economic development. How about the next one? Improved working capital by reduced inventory cost. Implementing an agile and digitalized supply chain can help a firm reduce inventory costs by allowing for more accurate demand forecasting, better inventory management, and just-in-time delivery. The next advantage is the increased operational efficiency. By digitizing processes and automating workflows, a firm can increase operational efficiency and reduce the need for manual intervention, leading to cost savings and improved productivity. This is followed by improved visibility and traceability. Digitalization of the supply chain can provide greater visibility and traceability of goods, which can help improve decision-making, reduce errors, and increase transparency and accountability. This can benefit the company in case of any issues or recalls. And let's don't forget carbon offset revenue. A firm can also generate revenue by selling carbon offsets. And then there is attracting investments. A commitment to reducing greenhouse gas emissions can also attract investments from socially responsible investors and could lead to a positive impact on your stock price. And last but not least, there are tax incentives. Some governments may offer tax breaks or subsidies for companies that reduce emissions, which can help to offset the cost of implementing sustainable practices. These are just some initial points, and add to that as you see fit. Next comes the setting of targets for growth, margins, working capital, and earnings per share. Besides the massive improvement of your sustainability agenda and the impact on employment in your region. In the context of this blog, I just would like to point out a region is more like a continent than a sovereign state. So I'm thinking more Europe, Indian Peninsula, Southeast Asia, and Oceania. Now, to design a regional, agile, and digital supply chain fit for the foreseeable future, let's consider the following steps. Because always in the podcast, we not just talk about, oh, that would be nice, but as well we look hard in terms of what does it take to get it done. So as we have seen, the price is right for most companies. To achieve these benefits, it is vital to have a clear project plan in place. And here are some of the needed steps. So, first of all, we have to start with a timeline. It takes about 24 to 36 months, depending on the gap between the current state and the desired state. The CEO or COO should be assigned as the board sponsor with the head of supply chain and procurement as the lead. A board session should bring the current state to the cold light of day and run what-if scenarios using visualization software. And there's a lot of that out there. I recommend animated scenario visualization to grasp the audience overall. External experts can be invited to help set stretch but realistic targets and define a blueprint for the new supply chain. A full project team, 3 to 5 people, not more. The rest should work on this as part of their normal job. Should be set up to redesign supplier selection, onboarding, outsourcing, qualification process, and. IT must play an essential role in supporting the definition of supply chain digitalization, since many IT organizations, however, have a very limited understanding of the true needs of supply chains today. The final decisions need to reside with the board sponsor of the project. Digitalization and automation offer high potential, particularly in the big data and AI insights area. When we're going with the project, the board requires quarterly updates, and so does the supervisory board. This is important. This is not a drill. Supply chain risks must be evaluated annually, from sub-suppliers to customers, and standards for each product should be set for supply chain design. The costs, the implementation costs, will be medium, including setting up an internal task force for 1 year and potentially shifting capital expenditure for retooling and engineering. However, costs will be higher if a simple lift and shift is done without rethinking each material grouping in the context of agile and digital. Let's come to a conclusion. The intense globalization of trade and hence supply chains has been a phenomenon of the last 30 years based on the opening and incredible development of regions such as China, India, Africa, etc. Supply provided a stable flow of goods globally, generating higher profits, better living standards, and contributing, unfortunately, to exponentially higher greenhouse gas emissions. Due to the increasing volatility of man-made and environmental disruptions, companies face increased cost and lead times, slowly eradicating the financial benefits they got used to. It's time to learn again and adapt. Suppose we consider more regional setups of our supply chain to improve resilience financially and otherwise. Reshoring our supply chains finally requires using modern, agile and digital principles of the 21st century. They can rely on change processes long tested in production and R&D and apply them to the supply chain function. In 1,000 days, or about 3 years, This change can be concluded for 90% of all firms' supply chain, with a significant benefit for the customers and the shareholders. This change will establish a new milestone in advancing global trade, allowing us to reap regional benefits from end-to-end manufacturing and global gains from exporting designs and intellectual property, rather than merely emission-intensive physical materials. I will delve deeper into the topic in subsequent podcasts. But one thing in my mind is for sure. This is for the best for all regions if you want to grow sustainably without causing total burnout. It's for Asia, Middle East, Americas, Oceania, and Europe.
And don't worry about Earth, the planet will be fine anyway. She will try again if humans fail. Earth has existed for 4.55 billion years. There are still another 5 billion years left before the sun consumes the Earth and becomes a white dwarf star.
Thank you, Amy. And on this happy note, thank you for listening to episode 7 of the Supply Chain Dialogues podcast.
A big thank you as well from me. Stay safe, stay bold, and start your bold actions by subscribing to our podcast on our website or Apple Podcasts. Take good care and stay alive as a species.
And with that, all the best, goodbye, stay healthy, and until hopefully the next time. Goodbye.